So we are live with Dan Thiessen and Rachael Thiessen. No, I just didn't know. I'm like, was Rachael using Thiessen as the last name? You know, never know. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
What was the maiden name was DeYoung, right?
Yeah, that's the name that's still on the wall.
That's how I was introduced. Oh, maybe I said there too. Yeah.
So you see it on the gym wall on the CrossFit regional.
Yeah, we're gonna.
What is that name tag they gave them?
Yeah,
she's a better friend to me than you. I've been friends with her longer.
So how does that make it better?
I just had to go that route. Yeah. She taught me, maybe not anymore. She taught me a lot, though.
No, yeah, she taught me a lot.
Yeah.
And she taught Tom a lot.
She changed my life, especially with the nutrition. Well, first she yelled at me because I'll never forget. I didn't know what I was doing at the gym. Not like I know now, but I was spotting somebody on the bench press. I'll never forget this. And they were like going for their third rep on like a 3-rep max or something, and I guess I touched the bar before like they were done pushing on this rep, and from across the gym, I'm talking like maybe it felt like 200 feet away, somebody just starts yelling at me, "Don't touch the bar!" And I was like, "Oh my god, oh my god!" And I dropped the bar. I'm like, "Oh!" And now I know how to spot people correctly. So thank you, Rachael. But she really did change my life when she handed me the Primal Blueprint. That book.
Yeah.
That was you.
A great book.
And then in return, I smuggled grass-fed butter from the U.S. into Canada. And then I gave her grass-fed butter as a thank you. Isn't that like the best thank you? And
Absolutely.
Now Rachael's here putting her own milk. What milk are you putting into the coffee?
Don't say your own milk because I'm still nursing twins. So not quite my own milk, although I hear that is a trend these days.
I've heard that's a trend as well. No, I'm not even joking.
I've heard of restaurants getting it and making ice cream out of it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Breast milk.
Yeah, people are messed
Human
up.
breast milk.
Yes.
So, but what are you putting in your coffee?
This is raw milk from a cow that I own, and the farmers come and deliver the milk to me.
Okay, so why did you buy this cow?
That's
So
the
that I can
only
get
way
fresh milk.
to legally get raw milk in Ontario.
Yes.
I think our mom was involved in some lawsuit when it went down. She
wasn't. No, it's one of the places she got it from. A couple places.
She owned a cow and that place was involved in a lawsuit.
At that point, it was cow sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think you can do that anymore. Now it has to be your cow, I believe, entirely.
Yeah.
Apparently, because one of the places I get my meat from, it finally went through the courts because they got raided a while ago and they had to let all their cows go. Just recently, just a couple of weeks ago, it finally went. And I donated towards the fine that they got. It was only a $5,000 fine, but but it's criminal. What will we do in this province with the our food supply? Like, it's criminal.
It's messed up.
So what's the danger with what are we trying to save everybody from with the raw milk?
Well, the history of raw milk is like from the late 1800s when people were moving from like rural agricultural areas and mass in the city for the Industrial Revolution. And so they brought the cows with them, and the cows were living in these filthy conditions. They were being fed brewery swill, which is like the leftover grains from when you're making beer or whiskey or whatever it is they are making. And so there was no proper sanitation, right? Like people were emptying their, chamber pots, like in the street. Right? So all of these conditions, this is where the cows are living. This is where they're being fed. So people in the city were drinking this milk from these cows and they were getting sick. So pasteurization was invented to kill germs and bacteria that might be growing in this dirty, filthy conditions of milk. But by going to a farm that is clean and takes care of their animals, you reduce all of that risk. And you get to keep all the benefits of raw milk, which is all the enzymes, all the beneficial bacteria like probiotics, and even like live lactase. So people that are lactose intolerant can sometimes drink raw milk without problems because the lactose hasn't been destroyed by pasteurization. Enzymes, all that stuff.
Well, you're making enemies already.
I know.
People
right off the bat, controversial.
Sure.
I don't know. This sounds smart, doesn't it?
No, it does sound smart to me, but I just mean I know the low hanging argument that I've heard from people. They're like, well, why do we need milk anyways? We're the only mammals that drink like another mammal's milk. And I'm just like, oh boy, here we go. So it's
and then sorry, when you have a cow, do you go visit the cow sometimes?
We have gone and visited the cow. Yeah,
nice.
we brought Malachi.
Cows are nice.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
We
do you milk the cow yourself?
No.
Oh no.
But we let him run wild in the pastures.
Yeah, no, that's great. No, this is great. Have you milked a cow before?
No.
I have.
Yeah,
milking a cow is like an awesome experience.
Yeah.
I know that sounds crazy, but it really is. And then how do you drink the milk? Do you have to boil it a little bit or warm it up or just straight raw?
No.
I'm just trying to remember because I remember on our farm in Croatia, there'd be a big pot on a wood burning stove. and they were it was just preference. They were warming it up sometimes or something. But I remember the milk sitting in this pot.
But it was cool sometimes too, because the fat was on it on the top. So maybe after they left it for a bit and the fat was on the top, they warmed it up again to maybe get it mixed in or something. I don't know. I actually forget. I was a kid too. So
well, I'm not calling you guys old, but you have to think that like a lot of this stuff is from before refrigeration, right? So a lot of these old school traditional habits are from before everyone had in rural Croatia a refrigerator, right?
Yeah.
So these are habits that are carrying over. So they would have warmed the milk to turn it into yogurt or turn it into kefir, right? To kickstart that fermentation process. Because if you just leave the milk to sit, then it like separates into curds and whey, right? And so then you can strain it and make yogurt or cheese or whatever.
Oh, got it.
But then if you boil it a little bit, then it kind of just warms it. Like that's how you make yogurt. You add the bacterial culture, you warm it a little bit, and then it sits for 24 hours, and then you got yogurt.
And our aunt would make, they would make their own cheese there in some triangular thing that they would put something in with a big plunger. Do you know what I'm talking about? Really?
Yeah.
And they would plunge this thing down, and I don't know, cheese would happen. So it's interesting you say that about refrigeration, because there was a lower level to this house that was, I guess, the equivalent of maybe a modern day cold cellar, but the fridge was just this. They had poured some like a cement rectangle with literally a cement cap to it, and that was the fridge. So they would just kind of keep anything that they were trying to keep a little cooler. And then they actually had the animals underneath the house. And the reason the animals were underneath the house were for heat.
Wow. Oh, cool.
Because the animals, the cows and the horses that were underneath the house, the livestock kind of gave off heat.
Right underneath the main bedroom.
So cool.
Can you believe that?
Bedroom, and then it was just wood planks, so that heat would come through between the planks.
And one day I was sleeping and they woke me up like, Tom, get up. And then this one cow that everybody loved was having a baby. Oh. So we ran underneath the house and I saw a calf born like pop out of this cow and then just try to stand up. And to this day, I was like, it must have been like 2 a.m. and the whole village is there. Everyone's like, yeah, getting into this thing. And it was awesome. Yeah. Those were like awesome memories.
Yeah.
And that's where I milked a cow.
And think of your kids' summer vacations and what's happening with them. Yeah. It's different.
Different time.
Yeah, going out into the fields there, and they had no washrooms when we go visit. So you just use the washroom like wherever you could.
They had no toilet paper at times.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
It was leaves.
Yeah, leaves.
Yeah. Smooth rocks.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a whole other story. But so then, Rachel, why do you know all this stuff about food?
When I first started doing CrossFit, I was like a university student eating junior bacon cheeseburgers every day. And I started doing CrossFit, and nutrition was an important part of it. They said, hey, you do these workouts and you follow this nutrition prescription. So I said, okay, done. And it was like a complete 180. Like I went from smuggling junior bacon cheeseburgers into the movie theaters to being that girl opening a can of tuna in the lunch lab and just eating it straight out of the can with
everybody else running away.
Yeah. This girl stinks. What's she eating?
Yeah, for sure. But so then I just realized that like they go hand in hand, and it made sense to me. And so the way that it was presented to me was that this is natural food to fuel your body, right? Meat, fruits, vegetables, nuts and seeds, and then, a little bit of the other stuff, starches, sugars. And then I realized how much of our food and food system was processed and industrialized, and then therefore just kind of bought and paid for, really.
And then how did you get into the CrossFit thing?
One of my friends that I worked with at the Y, he started doing CrossFit and said, hey, there's a super cool workout, come and try it. And yeah, I was hooked instantly.
And then how did you become, you went all in. You were, when I first went to the gym, that you were there as a trainer. How did you get to that point?
For me, it just felt natural because I guess working at the YMCA for 8 years, that was where I really learned how to be a coach. And so I always wanted to be a teacher. I just didn't know what exactly that looked like. So when I was in university, I wanted to be a professor and do research and all that stuff. And so it was kind of around the same time that I started to realize that in university, to become a professor, you didn't actually get to do all the cool outdoor research. You were like writing budget requests and proposals and, asking for money and doing paperwork. And so I'm like, well, that doesn't sound like that much fun. But I'd been coaching for years and teaching aquafit and swim instruction for kids and adults. And so when I started learning about CrossFit and how to do it, then it just was a natural extension for me to want to teach other people how to do it.
And when you say all in too, like I guess to your, when I met you, you were drinking a lot of milk because there was a period of time where you were drinking a lot of milk, taking a lot of calories and gaining weight purposely to get strong. And then you dropped that weight to get for the conditioning. So you tried to keep as much strength as possible, dropped it. And then at that time you qualified. So for anyone not listening, there's like a yearly competition in CrossFit that's kind of open worldwide. And then at that time it was breaking out into the top qualifiers to go to the regional competition, and you qualified for that, which is quite the accomplishment. That's not an easy task to do. So you went all in as a trainer and in training and your diet to kind of fine tune what you were doing there. So, I mean, it was really all in from a number of different angles for sure.
It was really cool to experiment with my body in that way because, I was, I actually went to the regionals in 2011. We had a team back then. And so, just I wasn't very strong. So that was why I started drinking the milk. And I did a couple of powerlifting meets and just really focused on trying to get as strong as possible, using the milk, putting on muscle. My goal was to add 5 pounds of muscle before my 30th birthday. So I ended up gaining like 20 pounds, but then you're right, taking it off. And I know.
You should see the photos.
But yeah, so it was really interesting to be able to, do that with my body and be like, okay, I'm going to do this as an athlete, and to be able to kind of take a step back and, periodize your entire life to be like, okay, I'm going to enter this phase for like a couple of years so that I can enter this next phase, better off on the other side.
Yeah, it takes a lot of discipline. Especially for a female to be like, I'm going to gain 20 pounds, be fatter than I've ever been, which is like part of the process. Like if you truly want to gain muscle, like as fast as possible, then you have to gain fat with it. So a lot of these like lean gains kind of stuff, like that takes to do real lean gains. That takes like years of like manipulating your diet and your lifestyle to make those little bit of gains. But if you can do it a lot quicker if you're okay with adding the fat along with it, which most females typically are not. So the fact that she didn't really care, first of all, what anybody thought about, her getting fatter, because she had a goal, it was like inspiring to watch. And also like, I had a lot of respect for the fact that she just didn't care what people thought about her.
No need for approval. Very rare.
Yeah.
That's very rare.
Yeah.
Well, when you can, squat over 200 pounds, like you feel strong, you feel good about what you're doing. It's not getting fat for no reason, right? When you're applying it to something and you're like, man, I can bench press 150 pounds. I can squat 200 pounds. Like,
How many times a day were you working out when you were leading up to get into that CrossFit regional competition?
Still most days only once a day.
Once a day? And what did the workout look like?
It would usually have a little bit of strength training, but not as much.
What's a little bit of strength training?
Like one lift. So maybe some squats or some presses or some Olympic lifting, and then a circuit. I mean, it's really the same kind of stuff that we do at the gym still now. I don't really think that it was a very specialized program.
So what was the hardest? What was the hardest part of that period of your life? Was it gaining the weight, or was it mentally preparing for the competition?
Well, at that point too, she had cut the weight down. So like, to be in the best shape she could be in, she had to cut. Like there's no way you're moving all that mass on pull-ups and handstand push-ups and stuff.
Yeah, got it.
So she had cut down. I remember it like pretty vividly too, like the workouts. Like,
because didn't she beat you in some workout?
Oh, she beat me in like every workout.
I knew I would beat him in every workout that didn't have wall balls. That was
or rowing.
And sorry, why did you know? Because Dan's obviously pretty fit. Why did you know you could beat him in every workout?
Because she's little and she can move faster.
Because she was in better shape.
Let's hear it from Rachael. I would like to hear the answer from Rachael, please.
Because I was in better shape than him. Yeah, for sure.
That's the answer I was hoping for.
Listen, if it wasn't for me, she would have never pushed that hard.
And then what did you learn? So that regional competition is like 2 or 3 days of like a whole bunch of workouts, like 2 a day or 3 a day or whatever it is. Leaving that, what did you reflect back on? What did you learn from? What did you take away from that experience?
I absolutely loved the experience. And for me, like, I knew that I wasn't going there to win. I was going there for the experience and to enjoy it. And I was in the last heat. you know? So it's not like I was competing like directly beside the top people, but then I actually took first place in 2 of the workouts in my heat, right? So it's not, I wasn't winning the competition, but to me, that really says a lot in terms of being like, okay, who are you actually competing with? Like, where are you? And what are realistic goals in your life that you can have, right? So, I mean, like, I wasn't trying to beat those top girls. So to me, if I was, then maybe I would have felt a sense of disappointment. But for me, I was just going there to have fun and enjoy the experience and do the best I can. And so I felt really rewarded and validated by that.
And that's where, like, what's neat about the 2 of us is we're very opposite. So, but I was there, and I think it's a great way to be, and her ability to approach the workouts was always really well. Like, so if anybody knew how to pace a workout properly, it was her. But if anybody knew how to not like finish on the gas pedal, it was also her. So like, I was really good at being like, yeah, this is the perfect strategy, but like in the last 2 minutes, you're going to die.
Yeah.
And those are the workouts. Like, she had I think it was a 7th in the one workout and a 5th in the other work, like 2 top 10 finishes. There's very rarely you see her soul leave her body, but I've seen her soul leave her body in those moments.
Yeah, cool.
But that's like, I just told her before, I'm like, this is your game plan, but at the end, this is when you got it. This is why we're here.
And that's what Dan can do. You can flip a switch. And I always say, I'm like, I don't have that. Like, I don't want that switch. I don't care to flip it.
He flips it every workout. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, anytime you challenge him and everything, anytime you're like, hey man, I can take you in this, it's automatic. Before the workout starts, he's just like, he'll walk away laughing, but in the back of his head, for the rest of the day, he'll be bothered that someone thinks, and even though if it's like you're half joking, he's just like, I can't believe I'm going to do this. And like, I know.
I'm competitive to like a stupid degree. Like, it's not healthy, but I work on myself, Did
you have a gymnastics background?
I did gymnastics a bit when I was a kid. I always have this sort of sense of self-preservation. So I quit when I was supposed to do like backwards somersaults and stuff. I'm like, you know what? That's enough. But I think it was a lot of my swimming that really carried over, because then I just had strong shoulders in general. So that translated well to be able to do like handstands.
Nobody did handstand push-ups faster than her.
Yeah.
It was annoying.
My arms are also really short.
Yeah, they're short. The range of motion is
a lot.
Not that anyone's really training for that type of competition, but that type of competition has strength. It has, there's gymnastics components to it. There's some cardio components to it. What is the hardest thing for someone going into that in general? Would it be the gymnastics movements that are the most difficult for people?
For most people, yeah, because that's the most specialized skill, right? So like
ring muscle ups, bar muscle ups.
That's where
handstand walking.
Handstand walks.
The workout you came 5th had a ton of ring dips in it. And so many of the girls were like, got there fast and then just died on these ring dips. And then she got to the ring dips like quickly, but probably like 3rd or 4th in the heat, and then just started banging out ring dips to the point where Jason McDonald is one of the head judges for CrossFit. He's a former UFC middleweight fighter.
Oh yeah, I feel like I remember the name.
Alberta.
Yeah. So he's from out west, and he was the head judge, and he came over and he was like watching every single rep she did to make sure that she wasn't cheating.
He thought she was cheating.
She thought she was cheating. And I was so angry. I'm like, screaming at him, like, go check on somebody else. Yeah. Like, she's doing it properly. And he didn't know rep her once.
Were you guys dating by this point or no? At that comp or no?
We started dating after that. Like so that weekend.
Dan saw how you were. I remember at the time, that's when you guys were starting to get closer. I remember the stories about how there. So that's interesting.
Yeah. So, I was trying to stay focused. I was trying to,
I was giving her.
Dan saw what you did. Like, okay, you know what? She's competitive enough. I think I can marry her.
Yeah.
So Rachel, you've seen. I just remember what an incredible trainer that you are. And when I met you, you were training tons of people. What is the common trait with people who stick around, who come to the gym and stick with it and don't just like fade away after a month or two?
Like,
is it a reason?
People like me, like you can't get rid of if you want to.
No, Nick's definitely an anomaly. not anyone like Nick. Because Nick, like, you can't get Nick to go away from the gym. So, so like, I just mean, what is like, is someone who's going to stick with it? Is it a goal that they have, or like, what is there a common denominator, or no? Everyone's so different.
For me, I feel like there are 2 personality types. Like Dan and I are a different personality type. You guys are different personality types. So there's different traits for different people, right? So, but both of you guys have in common is that you enjoy learning new things. And to me, that's the most important thing, is because not only are you walking in there and sucking at everything, doesn't matter what you did before.
Whoa.
Right?
Let's hold off a second. Nick, maybe. Me? Come on.
Remember, I saw you squat when you started.
I remember Rachel screaming at me when I couldn't do a pull-up, and I had a green elastic band, and then we were trying to learn some kipping stuff, and she's like, come on, like, how can you not do this? And sorry, I mean this in the most positive way. Like, you were awesome the way you spoke. So if it's not coming across the way I'm articulating it, I meant it was very great. It was amazing.
Comical for like a 5 foot tall girl to be
so
screaming
good. It was so good. It did motivate me.
She was aggressive though. Like, she's calmed down quite a bit, I feel like, over like having kids maybe, I don't know. Yeah. But I remember her, like, how aggressive she was with me, but I did stupid crap too, so I don't necessarily
why was that your style, Rachel? You were in people's face. You wanted the best for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was good.
And
I think
I was excited naturally about watching people progress, because that's the thing. Like, I've been doing this for 14 years now, right?
Yeah, wow.
So there has to be periods of, focusing on one thing more than the other. So focusing on strength, and then focusing on gymnastics, or focusing on cardio, and that kind of stuff is what keeps it interesting. And so it's people that appreciate that kind of stuff that are going to stick around to be like, okay, I got bored of doing, this particular thing, right? Even if it's just going to a regular gym, and bored of doing the same routine of dumbbells in front of the mirror, right? So it's like, I want to learn something new. Okay, I've mastered this, or at least I've like started to check off a little bit, and then I want to go and learn something else, and being able to set goals and kind of see progress in that way.
I wonder if people who are going to Radix understand all the thought that you're putting into this, like the training, and then Rachel, what you're explaining to keep people there, and how there's so many different things that you guys are offering. That's interesting.
I think that the deeper you're in the community, the more you understand. Like, I think people like Nick understand, but maybe,
if you're new, you don't realize what's going on into it. You just think there's like a program to follow, and you don't get all the thought going into it.
If you have nothing to compare it to, right? If you can compare it to something else, but if you've just decided to get in shape and you come to a gym like this, which is great, right? Like, that's great, but you have nothing to compare it to, so you kind of think that's all normal, right? And then if you go explore a little bit, you're like, oh, you don't realize how good you had it.
CrossFit gets a bad rap in general because people think that it's just a random accumulation of random exercises and random reps,
especially like the pull-ups and stuff.
The kipping motion.
One of the people here, so Ashley here the other day was talking. We were joking about it with a couple guys in the office, just about. I think we were just chirping each other about stuff, and she's like, "Yeah, I don't get this whole thing. My boyfriend and I, when we're at the gym, we laugh at the way you guys do pull-ups." And I'm like, well, like, it's a different, like, there's a different stimulus that you're trying to kind of trigger.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean you can't do a lot of strict pull-ups.
No, but the
people just don't realize. Well,
the problem with CrossFit early on, though, is to be fair, the bad rap was slightly justified, in my opinion, because it was always more and more and more. So people couldn't do a lot of strict pull-ups, right? And they could only do some kipping pull-ups, and they didn't have the strength, and then that's how they would hurt themselves, or they couldn't lift properly, but it was always faster, harder, more, and without good form sometimes they were pushing people too much. So that's why they had to readjust some things, which I think was beneficial. But now with good form, it's like, it's great.
And I think with the rise of like people's ability to go on Google or YouTube and be like, how do I do a pull-up properly? You can quickly figure out who knows what they're talking about and who doesn't know what they're talking about.
Well, and that's why, gyms.
Like, we don't let people do kipping pull-ups until they can have a good control of their pull-up. You know what I mean? And I'm a bigger person. I can do a lot of strict muscle ups. So like, you have to have that control. Then you turn that control into something where, if I'm doing a Metcon and I'm trying to get it done as fast as possible, then I can do kipping. But if you look at the programming, even from the summer and stuff, we did so much strict stuff compared to how much kipping. And now that we're getting closer to the open competition, and I know that we're going to have to use a faster style, now we're starting to use it, but that we built that base of strength and endurance in the movement before we start introducing that kind of
that's just why I would scream at you so much, to make sure that you have that foundation, right?
Foundation is everything.
I don't think you know this, but on the second time I think I was there, I was doing some deadlifts, which I didn't even really know what they were. And I think I had like 95 pounds total on this bar, and I was doing a deadlift. I think you were getting me, I don't know who was getting me to do this deadlift, and my whole back seized up at 95 pounds. Maybe it was 75. I'm not even joking.
No, let's pretend it was more than that.
No, it was max was 95. And then Nick, this is the second time I'd ever been there. And Nick came by, and I'm like, oh, Nick, like, my whole back, I can barely move. Like, I can't move my back. And he goes, you don't even mention that to anyone. You don't even say that.
Embarrassing.
Because he was so embarrassed because it was such a lightweight. But that's where I was was starting from. So you really had a challenge on your hands, Rachel. So I appreciate you sticking with me. Because I was starting from 0, -10. Holy smokes.
I think having the attitude you come into the gym with makes a huge difference, though. You know what I mean? Like if people this is the problem, I think. People want instant results. They want to be good at something instantly, and then they don't want to put in the time and effort it takes to actually be good at that thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So how long does it take to gain some muscle from somebody who said, okay, I want to gain some muscle? How long does it take to gain muscle that's going to maybe stick around for a little bit?
So if you've never trained before, you can gain muscle like fairly quickly. Over like a 2-month period, you can put on a little bit of muscle because your body's never had a stimulus like that before. It adapts fairly quickly. So like the more green you are, the less experience you have, the quicker that happens. And then it gets tougher the longer you've trained, and you have to switch up all the variables more often to create more muscle. Like to put more muscle on Nick would be a lot tougher.
Because he's been working out so long. But because he's been working out so long, will the muscle that he has stay around longer?
For sure.
So if somebody works out a little bit, gains some muscle in 2 months and stops working out, they're going to lose that muscle. Quick. So you get the benefit by length of time.
Oh, for sure. And then like you can see the studies of like the density of muscle changes quite a bit the longer you've been using it. And you see a lot of the older CrossFitters in you can look at the abs and the density of somebody's abs by how long they've been doing, high volume toes to bar or gymnastics stuff or hauls. Like the density of the muscle will grow. Yeah.
I'm curious about something like, as I've gotten older, the mobilities, I hated stretching. Now I actually don't mind it so much. I need it programmed for me and then I'll follow it. I'm the type of person that I'm a good student because if you program it for me, I'll do it. Mm-hmm. But if it's not programmed and like listed for me, I'm just like, I hate that stuff. I'm not going to do it. Yeah. So I ignore it. But so I see people that start, and as you guys have worked with people, if someone hasn't really trained much, so they have the opportunity to gain muscle and strength, and that's good, but they also can't do full range of motion. So let's use squat for an example, right? They can barely get to parallel. How much should you focus on them being able to kind of increase their range of motion versus gaining muscle? Because as I've gotten older now, I've realized that increasing my mobility and getting comfortable in these kind of natural positions that I should have kind of had, you used to laugh at me for I couldn't put my hands above my head. Mm-hmm. Rachel, when we started, she's like, okay, well, when I first started doing CrossFit, she's like, put your hands above your head. I'm like, okay. And I think they were like here. She's like, that's not above your head. I'm like, okay. And then I had to arch my back, but so like how much weight, do you put between the two? Because sometimes I look at it, I'm like, shouldn't people focus on being able to do a full squat almost just with the bar versus adding weight to the bar and doing half a squat?
Yeah. I think you need to work on that every day. So to make it, the older you are, the harder that process and the longer the process.
I know. Yeah. I've been fighting it.
So to me, they work hand in hand. You work your mobility and then you do the squat to allow your body to build the strength in the new mobility that you gain as you do. So you do mobility work or as part of your warm up, and then you squat and you work that full range that you have, and then you keep working that. The problem with just doing mobility stuff and gaining that new range is very weak. You've never had it before. But if we incorporate the strength side of it, like doing squats at a new range, and you slowly build the strength with mobility, then you're way more likely to hold on to the mobility, first of all, and to have it be strong and less likely to injure you. So they just go hand in hand. Like that's how I built mine. Mine was not great at all starting. I was in such a hunched position and I couldn't, same thing, not as bad as you. I didn't have as much chest muscle, but I still had a hard time keeping my hands over my head and stuff like that. But I'd work mobility every day and then I'd do the strength, and then it would get strong and better together. And it's just, that's to me the best way. For sure. What do you think? Yeah,
I totally agree. They're complementary, and then
because you've seen those people who are super mobile but then super weak. That's also not a good place to be. You know what I mean? Those type of people can hurt themselves in whole different ways. Like dislocating joints because they move through such a crazy
I've seen some people that are super mobile, and it's almost like they can't. Whereas I have the opposite approach, whereas I can't stay loose. I'm always tight in everything, and it's like some people almost can't tighten their muscles, and it's harder for them to gain strength because they just can't get tight. Yeah. It's like the opposite kind of problem, right?
And then that becomes their struggle, It's like you look at each other wishing you had each other's problems, but at the end of the day, you need a combination of both. That's why I like Olympic weightlifting and gymnastics, because you see what people are capable of in those kind of end ranges of mobility and strength put together. And gymnastics and weightlifting both have those kind of components. When you see somebody snatch huge weight, like the mobility it takes to be in that position and hold that weight is incredible. And then when you see somebody, do an iron cross, you're like, geez, man, like the range of motion they can go through, but the strength they have to hold it is like, it just crazy.
How are you eating right now, Dan? What does your eating look like right now? Are you eating for a specific goal?
Me right now, so I was training super hard. Last time we did the podcast, I was training super hard and I was eating tons of carbs to sustain that. Now I'm not training as hard, so my protein intake always stays the same. It's always between 205 and 225 grams of protein a day.
So 1 gram per pound of body weight.
Yeah, when I'm lean. And if I'm trying to like help myself heal a little bit quicker or put on muscle, then I'll eat a little bit more than that. And then the fat and the carbs are what I kind of switch up.
What kind of fat do you like?
So first thing is you want to make sure you're getting enough fat in a day. So for me, my body weight and how lean I like to be is between 90 and 100 grams a day. And then that just comes like, I don't eat any garbage food. So it's all my fat will come from coconut oil.
Olive
oil, good meat. So you need the saturated
so like grass-fed meat.
Grass-fed meat, grass-fed butter, ghee. She cooks with ghee.
Okay.
And that way your hormones stay firing off the way you want them.
Because the hormones benefit from the good fats.
Yeah.
And then when you're eating carb or lots of carb, when you're eating lots of carb, what is the carb?
So fruit, vegetables, rice, root vegetables, especially because they're like not a ton of greens. Sweet potatoes. I eat a piece of fruit at every meal.
Oatmeal?
Yeah, oatmeal. I've come off of oatmeal recently because I like to cycle off of certain things.
Okay.
Like when I was taking in like 600 grams a day, you need a lot of rice and pasta and stuff to kind of make up that. But I've come off a lot of that.
How much carb is in fruit? Is there a lot of carb in fruit?
Yeah, like an apple will have like 20 grams.
Okay.
Yeah, so like decent, but 600 grams is like work to get in. So you need rice is really like dense carb wise and it's easier to eat. So like a couple of cups of rice and you can get over 100 grams of carbs in and it's easier to put down.
Which is why when people are like, oh, I can't eat fruit, it's got too many carbs, but then they eat
madness.
Giant bowl of rice. Then
even I was thinking.
So you could have a lot of apples versus the rice.
When you're saying like people's argument against the raw milk or whatever, those same people who say that will go home and eat like a pint of ice cream, and you're like, you have a problem with raw milk. Right? What has all these, and then you can go home and just eat ice cream.
That's because it's made with modified milk.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not actually made with any real milk.
Like people's logic to me is insane. The way they can justify themselves around things.
Your knowledge is so deep in a subject matter, whereas someone else is just talking from their ass. Yeah. So when they talk, it doesn't really make sense.
Oh, I would never drink that, but you have no problem, eating man-made fats and sugars that are like literally destroying your body. You know what I mean? Or
they might know that they're doing something bad, but they just don't know where to stop. Yeah. I think the biggest thing I learned, and I think this is Rachael, something going back to you, just talking to you and some of the books that you gave me to read and stuff, was I didn't understand the replacement foods. Yeah. So when I cut out like the bacon cheeseburger, or I cut out the ice cream or the cereal. Like the cereal that I used.
Tom was a cereal monster.
Yeah, like I didn't understand. I had to relearn like, I can get dark chocolate and macadamia nuts, and these macadamia nuts with some dark chocolate. It's like awesome. Yeah. Like I love it. And that could be a replacement for some things that I was eating, or almond butter. But I have a tendency to go like way too hard on things.
You also process fats. Like he can eat a ton of fats. And
my body just I remember being at this one conference and they had MCT oil, which is like concentrated MCT oil. And they were giving out samples of it to like sip. And I took like a big one and I just like shot it down. They're like, oh my God, don't do that. I'm like, look, no problem. I can handle that stuff. Yeah. No problem.
We went through all our DNA markers with Dr. Cowan, each one of us, and there's one of the genes he's got to process fats. I don't have, and so he's naturally like a slimmer build than I am, just because I will naturally hold more fat. He's like, you just blow through it anyways because of the way you work out, constantly and stuff like that. But he goes, just it's there. And always our body types have always been, he's just been a leaner person, right? And you see it with the amount of fat that he eats. You can, I don't know, not as much anymore, but for a while there between nuts and dark chocolate.
Yeah.
I would love to know how many grams of fat you would
At
make
one
in a
point
day.
I was calculating, it was astronomical, but also my tolerance for pain is much higher than yours. Proven in.
Oh, that was a DNA testing?
Yeah. My tolerance for pain is, and I'm not surprised. Hey, you know what? I'm not surprised.
If I have to judge it by how much you guys complain at the gym, then I don't know.
No, my complaining at the gym, just for anyone listening, I do complain a lot at the gym, and I don't like complainers, so this is like kind of a bullshit thing to say, but when I complain at the gym, it's almost like therapeutic.
It is,
because
definitely.
I complain, but I always do the workout.
Yeah.
Like I will complain, and I will complain that the training is poor. Whoever put this together doesn't know what they're talking about. This is the most stupid thing. Yeah. Why am I paying to come here? Like I'll complain about everything.
I bitch at Dan mid-workout.
Yeah,
I look at him like, you're a jerk. Why'd you make me do this?
But as far as pain goes, there was that one workout where I pushed myself to the ultimate max.
You did.
That was Fran.
There's not too many people I've seen in the gym look like you after a workout.
I pushed my I know. I'm not. Yeah,
that's the only time. I'm pretty sure it's the only time where I was starting to dial 911. Like,
yeah. No, I did. I'll never forget feeling that way. That was bad. I couldn't speak English. I started speaking another language spontaneously.
I honestly think though that like.
Do you know that Fran workout that I did? I don't know if you were there.
I remember. Oh,
it was devastating. And it was his. It wasn't really him. It was Ruben who was standing next to, and Ruben was like, "Do it for your kids."
Yeah, he brought the kids.
And then you know what? I couldn't see. I couldn't even see. And I was grabbing the pull-up bar, and I was like, "Oh!" I just jumped in the air and tried to grab something. I was like, "Oh my god!"
To me,
it still took him 10 minutes to finish.
Yeah, to me when I paced.
Oh, no doubt. I didn't. It's not like I was athletic or something.
When I paced out the workout for you, I'm like, "Oh, this is a nice easy."
You were thinking for someone who's normally athletic,
not like. I didn't think it was going to be devastating,
There's 2 times I've gotten text messages. I just thinking about it's making me laugh from Dan. One was after Fred. It was a picture of Tom. I was just like, oh my gosh. And then the other time wasn't a picture, but you were texting me when Tom was trying to finish the rope climbs, and he's like, hey man, I'm actually worried for your brother. Like, like he might fall.
I saw. Yeah,
I was like, tell him to stop.
No, because I was doing these rope climbs. No, and I remember I was like,
I didn't stop him, but I'm like, dude, you need to rest right now. We're gonna count to 30 seconds, and then you're gonna do another one.
You know what? I just thought it was going to be so easy that I did these rope climbs faster than I had ever done them, and I just remember Dan going to talk to Rachel, and I remember the look on his face, like, look, this guy, he's fucked up here. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. And I just remember thinking, geez, man, how did I mess this up so badly? And everything was happening in slow motion.
Yeah.
Like I saw everything in slow motion. I think I saw Charles Waugh and Irwin at the door looking at me, and I was just observing myself. I'm like, well, I wonder what I'm going to do here.
The other problem.
But anyway, I finished it.
You did, and within the time cap we had set.
I remember running the last mile of that workout, and my arms they wouldn't move.
Yeah.
So I was running with
just
my arms just straight. Like I've never had that before. Yeah. My arms literally wouldn't move.
We did that workout together at Element as a second workout in the day.
You guys did.
I came out way too hot.
Always.
Way too hot.
Yeah, so just for anyone listening, this workout, because Rachel would crush it. You did this workout and you crushed it.
Yeah. She passed me in the burpees at the end. So
the workout, for anyone listening, the workout is you run, how did it start? 30 clean and jerks. 30 clean and jerks. You run a mile.
Yeah.
Then you do 10 rope climbs. 10 rope climbs at 15 feet.
Yeah.
Rope climbs. And then you run a mile, and then you do 100 burpees. And for you had set like a 45-minute time cap for me and Mike, which I think is a very generous time cap. And Mike finished it like Mike used the washroom halfway. Mike was 30 something. Did some text messages halfway through. Yeah. And then I think I came in like under 30 seconds left or something.
Yeah. We got it done though.
But Rachel, how fast did you do that workout? Do you remember?
It's like 30.
It was 30 minutes.
Yeah, 35 maybe.
God.
Just over 30. And then, I was like,
but I knew I just had to hang on, just keep my pace, and then I'd be able to.
She paced it well. I did those clean and jerks so fast, dude.
Why?
I did Grace, because that's what I'm telling you. There's something wrong with me. But I remember finishing the clean and jerk.
Something very satisfying about a clean and jerk. Maybe that's
it is very satisfying.
And I went for the first run, and I'm like, damn, I got to do another mile after this.
Running is brutal.
Yeah,
running sucks.
Especially when there's something weird about running and your arms hurting. it doesn't work properly. You actually need your arms.
No, I know. Yeah. I remember telling Nick that my arms wouldn't work. He's like, why didn't you just swing your arm and grab your t-shirt? And I was like, oh my God, that's so smart. I never really thought of that.
That's what I like about doing Murph with the vest, is that you just like hang your hands in the vest and just waddle run afterwards.
God. But so Rachel, do you eat similar foods to Dan at home?
No, we're like opposite.
Oh, so how do you,
Before you answer that, I want to preface it with this same topic, because I was thinking about it, because you've been through multiple different kind of stages in your life, especially as a woman, right? Because you go through a lot of hormonal changes when you have, when you're young and you're doing CrossFit, but then when you get pregnant and during pregnancy, and then after you have kids and stuff like that. So I think a lot of women will be interested in kind of those different things around your diet. So just kind of to piggyback off what
so if you want to pick a phase or whatever, but
we should talk about like right now how different.
Yeah, right now is very different, but it's still kind of very true to myself, because once I started learning about food, and then I could kind of see like how natural it is to like eat a lot of meat and then just kind of accessorize that. Again, I feel like I'm kind of like a Tom, like I do well with like a higher fat diet, and he's always been like lower fat and more carbs than I personally feel good doing. So like he says he eats 100 grams of fat a day, like so do I.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll eat the same. But I'll eat like 6 times more carbs.
Same fats, Rachel, or different fats?
Mostly butter, like primarily.
And how are you eating the butter? Where, like, are you eating the butter straight? Are you putting it on something? How are you eating the butter?
Sometimes there's teeth marks in the butter.
Yeah. I remember that. Like, I've personally seen you bite into a bar of butter.
Yeah. Well,
people come to our house and they're like, did your dog get into this butter?
Listen,
I do feed the dog butter too sometimes.
Okay,
like if I need to get him in his crate, I'm like,
so I want you to complete what you're eating, but not everyone knows this, that you couldn't get grass-fed butter very easily in Canada 10, 12 years ago. So I went to the US for some conference. I found grass-fed butter. I was so excited to get it that I took a taxi ride. It cost me like $80 to get to this grocery store just to get this grass-fed butter. I went outside the store, I peeled the butter back, and I was taking a bite, and right as I looked up, there was a gym in front of me with people on elliptical machines, like those elliptical machines, and there was probably like 10 people, and I was just biting into this thing of butter, and I'm like, this is so ridiculous, but I was so happy to find grass-fed butter. But okay, so good butter. Where are you buying your butter now?
Oh, I just get it from the same farm as the milk.
Okay.
Like it comes in what is like that paper stuff? What's it
like
called?
Wax paper.
Wax
it's like a
paper,
pound of
and
pressed
it's like a pound in a ball.
Okay.
Like it's absurd. And then you'll see bite marks in this ball of butter.
Yeah, I like that. So butter, and then what other fats? Coconut oil, maybe?
Yeah, coconut oil, coconut butter. I really like, because it's got
really
the fiber in it. It's
I don't think I've had
coconut butter is really good.
Oh, okay.
You would just eat the whole jar.
Wow.
Honestly, like if you just
like
started with a spoon, and it's like $12 for a jar.
I used to eat it when I was on one of when I had to cut out all sugars for like 6 weeks, and I mean everything. Like it was like I couldn't eat carrots because carrots had some sugar. Like it was like everything was hardcore, and I needed some food at night. I needed some calories, and that's when I was introduced to it. And it's actually a really good snack.
It's so good.
You got to watch it depending on what your goals are. You got to watch maybe how much of it you consume. Right?
And then how are you eating for protein and carb?
So same thing. Like it's a gram of protein per body weight. Sorry, my mic here.
She eats a lot of red meat though compared to most people.
What cuts of red meat do you like?
I usually have ground beef every day. So either just like a bowl of ground beef, or I just make it into burger patties.
What do you put in the ground beef?
But we get the
butter.
Yeah. But we get the
nose to tail blend.
Nose to tail blend is the best, dude. You get like liver in it. You get
heart.
You
kidney.
Get
where do you get that from? A farmer?
Yeah, it's called Wild Meadows Farm.
So it's how much % organ meat and how much
20% organ meat, and then
I've
20%
never seen that
lean.
before. That's interesting.
So good. We make burgers out of it, and then you get all those micronutrients from the.
Gosh,
that's interesting.
Great.
Yeah, that's something I should try. I've never tried it. I've never even seen that.
You just cook up the ground beef, this nose to tail ground beef, which has organ meat in it, and then you just throw butter in it.
Yeah,
literally. And you eat it like that.
Straight up.
Yeah, and sometimes some microgreens. Like we get microgreens.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
where are you getting the microgreens? Another farmer.
What's it called? Everyday Micros.
Yeah, it's one of our members. They makes it for like really high quality restaurants and stuff like that.
Okay.
So he just delivers a package to us every week.
Okay.
He put it on everything.
What was the name of that again?
Everyday Micros.
Everyday Micros.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then whatever carbs I'm eating, if I'm having carbs with that meal, then it would either be like fruit, like an apple on the side, or I would just put rice or sweet potato like right into the bowl of ground beef.
She also like does not eat vegetables.
Yeah, I don't eat a lot of vegetables.
And that's a choice because you don't like them.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm not convinced that they're the panacea that they've been
I'm with you.
made out to
I know.
be.
If you
I'm
listen to
100% with you.
carnivore
I'm
MD
100%
stuff.
with you. Yeah, but you know why? When I eat vegetables that aren't cooked sometimes, I'll just have I'll have to sometimes run to if I had spinach that's not cooked, I'm running to the washroom. I'm like, I don't think this is a problem with me. I think this spinach, there's something you know how I've read about how vegetables to protect themselves, they'll have a bit of a toxin to them that you have to cook it to kind of relieve those toxins.
That's exactly, yeah.
And I feel like all this, everyone's like, oh, are you eating enough raw vegetables and stuff? I'm like, I'm not so sold on the raw vegetables.
I think we're in, the nutrition world is in such a weird place with, being pushed by so much money in different directions and people trying to make money in different ways, and you get parts of studies or people using parts of studies to push a certain thing and there's no regulation on anything. So to find what actually is working or what science is just based on trying to get people the best food possible is really tough to find. So then when people start to challenge the narrative, guys like Paul Saladino, he's on Carnivore MD.
Okay.
So he's pushing that narrative of he doesn't believe that vegetables are all made out to what everybody is trying to do with them. And so he pushes this meat forward diet with fruit and honey, stuff like that for the carbs. But he has a lot of interesting science to back up what he's saying, and people with autoimmune problems and diseases are getting really amazing results from doing something like
meat, fruit, and honey. I'm in.
Yeah.
Sold.
Yeah. And, but I saw him on a YouTube video where 7 doctors just attacked him like he was the worst.
And there's nuance to this. What's right for one person isn't right for another person.
That's what's neat about us is I'm very carb driven and she's very fat driven, and but we can make that.
You'll
work.
eat more vegetables than Rachael?
Not really.
Okay.
I will eat more than she will. Lately, not the more I kind of find research, I'll eat more fruit than actual vegetables. I will have like last night I had asparagus with my
Yeah, we have a vegetable with dinner every night. Sometimes it's just
but you're not searching it out
and it's not replacing any of my carbs, and I'm not putting it in my Fitness Pal to count towards any of my carbs. It's just there as a fiber source and a bit of micronutrients.
Yeah, and so then if you go back to Primal Blueprint, paleo, I'm not necessarily about that. I'm not saying that we need to eat like cavemen, but if you look at it from a traditional ancestral perspective, then not only is there a lot of genetic variability in terms of Inuit who naturally ate, seal blubber, and their diet's going to be 70% fat, versus people that live closer to the equator, like a Mediterranean diet or even more, they would be eating a lot of tropical fruit, and then their diets would be 70. Then their diets would be 70% carbs, right? So you have to look at it in terms of where is your genetic heritage from, and is your body predisposed? And you can check out your genetics and that sort of thing towards being able to eat more fats and being able to eat more carbs. But on both of those spectrums, nowhere were vegetables a major part of the diet because they're not calorically dense. And if you look at it from a traditional perspective, these people, again, they didn't have refrigeration. They didn't have the means to be able to have a lot of calories without a lot of work to go along with it. So you need foods that are both calorically dense and nutrient dense. So no one's arguing that there's not nutrients in vegetables. There's benefits to them.
How much of those vegetables would you have to get to hit what you actually need? When you have stuff like organ meat that can literally give you all the micronutrients you need in the proper amounts per.
Yeah, because when we first started doing CrossFit, it was zone diet. So it was this is a unit of carbohydrates. And it was I
remember that with the carbs. Didn't the zone diet have the carbs?
Yeah. And so it was before counting macros. It was before my Fitness Pal, right? So it was okay, so you could eat 2 cups of broccoli or you could eat 1 tablespoon of honey. So to get the amount of carbs that you would need in a day, you would need to eat bushels of broccoli. That's just not efficient for anybody's digestive system.
I eat vegetables with every meal. I love I love more salads. I eat a salad with everything. I can't even. I do enjoy a good salad. I don't even enjoy my meal if I don't have a salad. Like I can have the best steak and I'm like, I just want a salad with it. And it's just kind of who I am.
And we grew up eating a lot of lettuce.
What do you put in the salad though?
Olive oil, salt.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's olive oil,
have to have
apple
all that
cider
stuff.
vinegar.
Yeah.
Apple cider vinegar and some nice salt on there.
I think it's the combination of those things that you crave. Like if you just sat there and like, I'm going to eat this lettuce. No,
it's everything.
It's
Like good olive oil. But then what I'll find is, and I enjoy broccoli, I enjoy Brussels sprouts and stuff. But as an example, like Brussels sprouts, I can't eat too many of them because I just find they're too heavy. My body can't digest them the same way. So after the meal, so I do everything based on how I feel. So, and I hate counting. I had to do it for a couple of weeks. I did it for a couple of weeks. I'm like, this is stupid. I hate doing this. So I stopped doing it. But I don't like, so I just know how I feel. And like for me, if we've been traveling as an example, and so let's say we were at an all-inclusive resort, so you're eating in the buffets and they're using crappy oil. So, so when you come home from there, your body just doesn't feel right. Right. So like in our household, we will have like what we call like a reset meal. And it's just like some rice, ground meat mixed with rice. Maybe sometimes if we'll mix it together, all together with like tomato sauce or something like that, a little bit of tomato sauce, and then like a salad. And then for me, if I eat that, I just know automatically I'm going to feel better. Yeah. And sometimes it's really not even for the nutrients, the salad. I think it's just for it's almost just for the hydration, because a lot of it will just be like a cucumber salad, and the amount of nutrients in a cucumber, it's not a ton at all.
Water. But I love it too.
But it's just sometimes it's just the freshness of it. I think I like the freshness to go with the other foods. It's almost like it helps kind of like wash it down in a way.
Yeah, but it's just such a small percentage of what you're actually eating, right?
Oh yeah.
That's why it doesn't like. I'll have vegetables at least a couple of times a day, but it's just not in any type of, like, it's not a staple of anything.
I see how you're mentally classifying this stuff.
It's just like something I put in there as a filler.
Rachael, what are some of your, I don't know if I want to call them sweet tooth foods, or like if you need something to satiate yourself as a bit of a snack or after the meal, do you go to like dark chocolate or honey, or is it like stuff like that?
Butter, Tom. It's butter. Butter's into every.
Past the butter. We're past the butter.
You dip the butter in dark chocolate.
Butter
and honey. Butter and honey.
Butter's very satiating for sure.
It is, yeah.
So butter and honey, how do you eat that?
Chocolate too, though.
You just smush it together.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. But also dark chocolate. Yeah.
Dark chocolate. What percent?
And coconut manna.
What percent of dark chocolate is dark to you?
It really depends on my mood and also the ingredients.
Doesn't it? I know. So walk us through that.
Yeah, I'll just take a look and just see what kind of brands are available, and just try to get, because I mean a lot of them still have like artificial flavors in them, and even though you're paying like $4 a bar and it says organic or something,
I hate that they all have that soy lecithin or whatever.
If there's
some of them,
you should stay away from, it's artificial flavoring.
Flavoring.
Artificial anything.
Yeah, it's destroying your gut.
So dark chocolate to you, anything below what is not dark?
70%, I think, is like a
70's like a treat.
Yeah.
70's good.
Yeah, right? And then I think like everyone can palate that. I mean, I've had the 85. I like the 85. And then, you just don't eat as much, right? You just have to eat it slowly.
I take 85% and I dip it into the fresh peanut butter. And I don't dip it. Sorry, I should, because my wife, she'll just laugh. I scoop it out to the point where I can barely open my mouth while I'm eating it. It is the best thing, but that's like after a meal. I'm like, whatever I ate, I just took in an extra like 400 calories for three pieces of chocolate, and like I've just pounded.
To me, it's that with almond butter.
Yeah.
Dark chocolate with almond butter.
Yeah.
The problem lies in when people are trying to lose weight and do those things. You can't do that kind of stuff.
No, there's too many calories.
Too many calories.
Yeah. You can do it, but it has to be controlled within the total amount of calories taken in the day. And
then you don't get your nutrients.
No,
right? And that's why we try to tell people, like, front load your food, eat full and satisfying meals. Like, because people told me that the people, if they knew what I was eating when I was competing in CrossFit, they would think that I was nuts, because I wasn't eating bodybuilder diet food. I was eating prosciutto and goat cheese on my sourdough with my eggs for breakfast every morning. And I was eating, like big bowls of yogurt with frozen berries and almond butter and dark chocolate and that sort of stuff. Like, I wasn't eating diet food when I was competing. I'm eating the same kind of food that I was eating now, just more carbs to fuel the exercise.
Yeah. Performance diets and diets for getting lean or losing weight are like completely different.
You know what I've taken a few times. You've been telling me to take it forever, and I don't listen to that. I like.
He's stopped listening to me a long time.
I go out of my way not to listen to him.
Nick doesn't listen to many people, so if he's ever listened to you, consider it a compliment.
Yeah, but he eventually does, and then he has to admit admit it. And those are some of the greatest times in the gym.
A lot of anything in a packet, I'm just like, I don't like taking it on a regular basis, right? But these LMNT packets that for
what are those salts? Electrolytes.
Electrolytes, salts, magnesium, and
Potassium.
After like a longer, for me, it's a longer workout. Like when it's like 20 minutes, or if I come to the gym completely hungover. When you take one of those, it's like so counterintuitive to me that the salt would make you feel better and hydrate you.
Yeah.
Which is so weird because I was talking to someone about it the other day. They're like, I don't get it. Salt makes you thirsty. How does it hydrate you? Why would you take that?
Is it an electric transmitter? Is that how salt works?
Like, people are just so misinformed, you know? But like typically, because what you think of salt is when you eat that like burger, cheese, bacon, fries with all the salt on it, you think that like, oh yeah, like that's salt. But that's not salt. You just took in like 2,000 calories plus like probably enough salt for 3 days. And of course, your body, the carbs, your body's going to store the water and you're going to be so thirsty. But when we're talking about salt, like for making you feel good, and we're just using the salt, magnesium, potassium to hydrate, your body needs salt. Like it needs that salt to get the water into your muscles, to make your muscles fire off properly, to help you recover from your workouts. Like you need it, but you don't need a bacon cheeseburger and fries and salt.
The magnesium, I think, is a really big piece of the puzzle.
Yeah,
a really big piece of the puzzle, because I started taking the LMNTs, and I also add these trace mineral drops to my water, and I do find it makes a huge difference.
Sorry, what are the trace mineral drops?
It's just like concentrated seawater. And I just add it to the water that comes out of the water filter, and it's the same thing. It just feels really good. And so I used to have to take a whole bunch of magnesium pills or natural calm, and now I don't need to do that anymore because I have just like a little bit throughout the day. But there's all this evidence piling up about magnesium.
Why did you have to take it?
Well, because I have a reverse osmosis, so it takes all the minerals out of the water.
Okay.
So you have to add something in, and then I was just really finding such a huge difference adding more of it in.
What kind of difference were you finding?
Just energy in general, and it makes your water taste better. And you just feel alive, and it makes your water feel alive.
Most people say the same thing when we get them like taking the LMNTs. Their energy changes.
I agree, and what's even surprising about that is how quickly it goes into your bloodstream, because the energy will change relatively quick. It's not like it's something that you need to wait a half hour for, but in a half hour, you'll think back, you'll be like, wow, I'm feeling pretty good again.
Yeah. That's something you sell at the gym, right?
Yeah. Dr. Huberman, who's been on Rogan a bunch of times and has his own podcast, and he's a scientist and he does all the scientific studies on this stuff, but he put out a video about what are the best performance enhancing supplements that are obviously not drugs, that actually have science and base. And the first thing he talks about is salt. Before he talked about creatine, he talked about salt. You need that to have proper performance.
Dan should have shares in the company by this point.
I should, dude. I'm like pushing it like crazy. I take it every day.
Well, and Rob Wolf was one of the founders of it, and he was my first ever nutrition seminar that I went to in 2009.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so this is something that you take personally. Rachael, do you take it as well?
Absolutely. And I recommend it to all my friends that are nursing moms as well.
Why is that?
Because it just helps with your hydration, and it helps with your production of milk to help you and help
So Rachael, when are you taking this?
I usually take it first thing in the morning, and then maybe a second one later on in the day if I feel like I need it. I'll have a chocolate one instead of a coffee in the afternoon.
This is just a packet that you put into water, and then it's a chocolate one?
There's a chocolate
one. They taste great.
I put the chocolate one in my chocolate protein powder after my workouts, and it tastes like a milkshake.
And then there's like the citrus ones. There's like a spicy mango, or there's like spicy something. They're super good.
Yeah.
Shit, all of you guys love this one. You gave it once to me. I think I needed it badly for whatever reason.
Yeah, you're dying in another word.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's when we were doing a long strongman. No, this is a true story.
That's like a 45 minute.
Yeah, we did a 40
strongman workout.
Yeah, listen, the air quotes are not necessary. It was a legit strongman. Rachael, if you saw this, you'd be totally impressed.
I got so sick of these guys talking about their strongman workouts that I found the strongest man in all of Canada and brought him to the gym to do a seminar.
They're only all
relative, man.
And
just on a scale.
Yeah.
Out of the strongman crew at the gym.
Yeah. Only Jonathan
one of them showed up. The other two, Tom and Mike, didn't even show up.
I forgot why. I think
you were sick.
I think so.
Oh, that's right. You had registered.
Yeah.
That was cool, actually.
Awesome.
I wanted to be there because I was going to show him a few tips.
Yeah,
I remember I was going to teach this guy.
He kept sending me texts being like, Tell Mitchell I got a couple tips for him.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm not saying nothing to Mitchell.
He's a big human, man.
Big human being, yeah.
I think you're talking about energy with food, and I think sometimes the best energy I ever get is when I'm eating liver. When we're in Croatia and I'm eating liver, those little fish that are like smelt. Are they in English called smelt? I don't know. They're not sardines.
They're
little
in omega-3s.
Anchovies?
They're not anchovies.
They're smaller, and they're just like usually just.
They're really good. Like they just fry them up really quick, and it comes to me on a plate like French fries, and there's like maybe 30 of them. So I will eat.
And you eat the whole thing like headed.
I will just eat just 30 of these things, and then I'll have liver. Oh my God, with olive oil.
It's probably super high in omega-3s.
And literally, I'll walk out of that meal, and I feel like.
Yeah.
But you also drink 2 bottles of wine.
Yeah,
you're
he's feeling extra great.
Yeah, and the 18 espressos at the end. It's probably hearing anything.
You got a lot of protein and fat, and then you got your carbs from the wine.
Oh gosh, it's amazing.
I was going to ask for your after, because a lot of women will listen to what your diet is and be like, "This is crazy. Like I could never dream of doing that." So, but how long ago did you have twins?
A year. They're a year old now, yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're a year old now. So, and then, obviously when you're carrying 2 babies, you just naturally, you gain a bunch of weight.
Yeah, she was humongous.
But I didn't say it like that. I was thinking it, but I didn't say it. But yeah, but I mean, you had 2 kids, right? So, and 2 healthy kids, which is great. That all worked out. But then what did you change in your diet afterwards to then have to drop the weight, or did you change anything and just over time it just kind of naturally you just kind of went back to your natural state?
First of all, tell them how much weight you lost in the first week. There was so much baby in her; it was crazy.
Yeah. So I did. Yeah, I lost a lot of weight. I lost probably 30 to 40 pounds, like right off the bat. And so I remember I weighed myself 2 months after they were born, and I've lost 25 pounds since then. So in the last 10 months, I've lost 25 pounds.
And is that just watching? So, because the first part, the big weight loss, that's just nature doing its job, right?
Yeah, water.
And then after that, though, were you watching calories to lose that weight, or were you doing anything specific, or you just kind of just went back to what you were doing?
Part of it is just because I have been doing this for so long. Like, our food is just so boring and so routine. Breakfast is always usually eggs and cheese and or a smoothie. That's a fruit smoothie with yogurt. And then meat it's usually that bowl of ground beef. And then for dinner, could be chicken, could be steak, could be, like a stew meat, like something along those lines. The big thing is I don't snack a lot in general, but the thing that changed for my calories, for like fueling, being able to like feed those babies as well as myself, was really just milk. That was my variable. I was drinking 2 liters of milk a day on top of my 3 meals, and now I only drink 1 liter. So I find it does stabilize kind of naturally, but it's having that foundation in place of everything else being consistent and routine, and knowing what a serving size is, and just eating the same thing all the time.
You drink a liter of raw milk a day?
I do, yes.
Yeah, I looked at the bill yesterday, and I said, "What?"
You seem very proud. You seem very proud of that. So you think the nutrient density of this milk is something you're going to stick with forever?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually, I drink 2 liters most days, to be honest with you. I was drinking 4 liters. I was drinking 4 liters of milk. I was drinking two jars a day.
The other thing you haven't mentioned is what changed after pregnancies with your like thyroid, and the fact that like she can't eat gluten anymore at all.
Why? How do you know you can't eat gluten?
Well, so first my thyroid kind of went off the rails about a year after the birth of my first son.
How do you know it went off the rails?
I felt horrible. It was just exhausted. And so I have a naturopath that I go and see, and she helped me realize that it was my thyroid, and it's called postpartum thyroiditis. And so an autoimmune paleo kind of diet would help with that. You're not supposed to eat eggs and dairy on an autoimmune paleo diet, and like I will continue to eat eggs and dairy until the day I die.
That's your thing.
But with the autoimmune disorders, gluten is a huge trigger, and it's not even so much the gluten. It's just the way the food's processed, all the chemicals that are used to harvest the wheat. Like there's just layers and layers to this stuff. But anyway, so I was managing it pretty well with following this autoimmune protocol diet, which is again very similar to the way I've always eaten in the past. And then after the twins, I got this like crazy food poisoning, and it triggered celiac disease that I didn't know that I had the genetic predisposition for. So that's kind of been what I've been battling this year.
Also, the doc, like her thyroid was at the point where the doctors wanted to put her on medicine that if she went on the medicine, she would have to take it for the rest of her life. And she was determined to like heal that naturally.
Oh, good for you.
And she did. It took way more time and effort than obviously just starting to go on pills that you'll have to take for the rest of your life. But she was able to like get rid of that part of like her thyroid issue without having to go on that medicine.
What was the
My numbers went to absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
What was the gluten you had to remove? Like, what were you eating that had gluten?
Sourdough bread, like not very much, but so I'm off all grains right now. So no oatmeal, no rice.
Can you get gluten-free oatmeal?
You can, but my gut is just like so damaged right now.
Got it.
Part of it, like 2 C-sections, you get antibiotics, you have to repair and rebuild from that. So
Probiotic, do you take probiotic or no?
I do usually, and I eat a lot of probiotic foods, but actually right now I had to come off my probiotics just because of like the bacterial
all out of whack
balance. They just need to like let everything die and level out.
Especially through pregnancy, man. What the body goes through, what the female body goes through to handle all that is just it's a lot. We can't relate.
And
organs have to move out of the way, especially when when with twins or even more babies. When you get really big like that, I can't imagine like how the body has to shift to accommodate everything.
And so she going from being top CrossFit athlete to like first child, miscarriage, twins. Like she's literally pregnant or dealing with kids for like over 5 years straight now.
Wow. And
then trying to recover that and now get back into, CrossFitting workouts, and which she's been doing, which is great.
Rachel's tough.
Yeah.
Well, that's why it's funny to think about those days when I like purposely gained 20 pounds, right? Like that's where I'm at now. I'm at my like, I worked so hard to gain those 20 pounds. And it's like, okay, well, now we're just going back. But yeah, I mean like the fluctuations, because I don't know, I gained 100 pounds at the twins, probably.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Do you have some goals you're headed towards now with, I don't know,
she keeps saying 40-year-old master's class. I'm waiting to see it though.
What's that? What do you mean?
So when she turns 40, she'll be in the bottom age bracket for that master's class for CrossFit, so she can compete as a 40 to 44-year-old. So she said, she's telling me that that's what it is.
My goal first, I said I'm going to win the scaled open, which is like kind of a joke, but also kind of not really. Because again, it just kind of goes back to my point of earlier of like having these realistic goals. Like people think that they don't want to do competitions because they're not going to win. But it's like doing a competition and not winning in CrossFit is the same thing as going and playing like beer league hockey.
Sure.
Like and just playing, and
having
you're not
fun.
winning the league championship.
It depends. I don't look at it the same, because if you try, I don't want to feel, because the difference with me is I don't like to compete very often, and it's because I don't want to actually try 100% at a workout, because it's pain at the end. You're just suffering. You're on the ground in pain and rolling back and forth.
That's what's so good about her. Like she'll do all the open workouts and she'll walk away and she'll be totally fine with it.
Yeah.
I would not be either. I would do it and I would hurt so bad, and then I wouldn't do as good as I wanted to do, and then I'd want to
You know what you should do at Radix, because you can do handstand push-ups really well, you're saying?
Yeah.
Have you met a gentleman named Tim Hong?
Oh yeah, he's scaled
then
king.
I think we should have a handstand push-up competition. Rachel
I'll never
versus
forget
Tim.
That one workout he did.
Do you remember those?
Yeah, he did like 100 of them.
I think he set a world record in your gym.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Oh my gosh, I just had a flashback to deficit handstand push-ups. Mike
DeSormo did a crazy deficit.
These deficit handstand push-ups that are insane.
Yeah.
Like I've never seen anything like that. You know how many I can't remember how many weights he stacked
plates,
up.
Though.
It's just an incredible amount.
Yeah.
So
she was the same thing. You could do a big deficit.
That's all shoulders.
It's little arms. You guys in your short range of motion.
Huh.
Yeah.
Really?
Just think, like, if I have to press a barbell and my arms are long, then the range of motion to get to the top is a lot longer.
Okay, makes sense.
It just
makes sense.
Way less.
Okay, so you're buying this theory, Rachel?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm owning it. Little T-Rex arms. I can bench press a lot of weight because of it. Handstand. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Long arms are good for punching things, though. So.
Are you still training JM?
Yes, yeah. JM's fighting.
Can you give us an update?
He's fighting February 11th in Brampton.
This is his 8th professional fight?
No, this is his 5th.
5th.
Yeah,
Okay.
5th. His opponent for this one is 9-3 with 7 KOs. So better and better opponents each time.
Where is he Canadian or?
No, this guy is, I forget which Eastern European company. He's a tough dude. Like watching the YouTube videos, we're like, okay, like he's gonna fight. Which is fun.
Good.
Yeah. He's excited.
And this
Jam's so interesting to me because like so many fighters have like weird complexes, you know. I've seen it throughout the years, and they're either trying to prove something to their dad or something that happened to them in their life. And Jam's like the happiest go lucky dude. But when you tell him like somebody's gonna beat him in something, he doesn't even look at you in like an angry way. He just smiles and he's like, no, they're not gonna beat
I can believe this 100% because when I go to the gym, I just like kind of chirping people just for fun. Like that's where I get my enjoyment from. Yeah. I didn't really know him. He didn't really know me well, but he's in the gym. There wasn't many of us. I think there was like 3 people, me, Mike, and him training. You were training him, but I think you had left and he's doing his own box jumps or something. And I walk by him. I'd seen him a few times now, and I walk by him. I say, hey, if you really want some competition, try to go against me. And I was like joking. Like I smiled at him and joked. And the way he looked at me, I thought he was like, hey dude, you want to go right now? I was like, holy smokes, this guy just like, he went. Yeah, so full respect to him. Yeah, I feel like he just has a switch.
But it's like weird because the way he holds himself is very much like he's just a nice guy, like the nicest guy ever. And he'll smile and and then it's like boom. We talk about this guy he's fighting, and he just laughs and he's smiling. He's like,
he has his arms feel.
He's a bit shorter than me, but he's got a longer reach, and I have a long reach. So he's got a wingspan, I believe, of somebody who's like 6'4". Which
you can just
perfect
tell looking at his arms.
Yeah, he's got long.
And is he going to walk out again with one of those crazy costumes?
He loves. So what's cool is his aunt actually, that's what she does for a living. So every fight he gets a new, like, for the December fight.
Like she'll make boxers' wardrobes, the outfits with all the fur.
He's doing tassels this time, like old school boxing. I love it. I think it's great marketing. I think it's great for his brand.
And this one's in Brampton when?
No, this one's in Hamilton.
Oh, sorry.
February 11th. And he's getting up there now. So he might be co-main or the third last fight. So they want him to fight for a Canadian belt this year, and so he's really
boxing crowd in Hamilton's an interesting crowd because when we went there with you, I'll never forget. I looked around this crowd and I go, okay, listen, there's like some interesting characters in here. At a moment's notice, there could be maybe 1 to 15 fights breaking out, and I need to know where the exits are at all times.
Fights. I was planning
in the crowd, in the crowd, between the crowd.
Oh no, I was planning thinking if there's a gun, how I'm going to dive under the table and what angle I need to push it at to try to hide behind it.
And you know how we wear gold chains, and I generally see no one wearing gold chains at this place. Everybody had a gold chain on. I'm like, what is happening?
You should see the crowd in Sydney, Nova Scotia.
Really?
Oh, it's not. Oh, the women I'm a little bit more afraid of. I believe.
Really?
Yeah, I saw a lady. I don't know what somebody said to her. Pick up her chair, fold it up, and go WWE.
No way.
Swinging on this other guy. Like I don't know if it was one of the fighter's girlfriends or whatever, but some guy said something to her and that chair came up, and I'm like grabbing my phone trying to get a video. I'm like, this lady's swinging a chair at this dude. Sydney, Nova Scotia is an interesting place.
So who's the organization?
WWE. I forgot about the chairs in wrestling.
So the Hamilton fights, these boxing fights, that's an organization that he's...
So Three Lions Promotion.
Okay.
They put on the cards, and he's signed to them for his first 3 years, I believe. And they do them between here and Nova Scotia is where the guy's originally from. And they have a heavyweight fighter from Nova Scotia as well, who's ranked like top 7, I believe, in the world, who headlines a lot of the cards. And he's a huge draw in Sydney, Nova Scotia.
Oh, wow.
They pack I think it's the CAA Center there. They pack that place. And everywhere you go in Nova Scotia, when you're there, they know you're not local. And they're like, oh, are you with the Riziki team? Riziki is everything in Nova Scotia. And they're ready. Like, I swear, the one fight we saw, he was fighting a Pan Am gold medalist from Argentina. I was afraid for my life if he lost that fight. I felt like everybody in the stands is going to rush and just, it was crazy.
Wow.
The atmosphere is.
Rachel, do you go to any of these fights?
I used to. I have been to a couple of the older ones. I haven't been to one recently. Yeah, with Mo. Yeah.
Yeah, I trained Mo for a long time until he won I
remember he brought the
North
belt to your
American
gym.
title. Yeah, and then retired after that. But I used to come to those. It's always fun. I know so many people in that world, so it's always fun to see everybody. And it's a different world.
Tell everyone James' full name.
John Michael Bianco. Yeah, he's so good, man. Like he, because of COVID, he didn't have his shot at going to the Olympics, but he won provincial championships a couple times, the national championships a couple times. He was on the national team, and then he was supposed to fight in South America for his qualifying spot for the Olympics, and then Team Canada just shut it down and wouldn't send anybody.
I hate hearing that.
Yeah.
That is the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the world sent all their people that to fight, but can't. We're Canadians.
Safe. What's Radix? There's an 8-week challenge going on right now. How often are you running the 8 week? So what are you doing for an 8-week challenge?
Oh, so
that's diet and fitness.
Diet, fitness, and like it's a whole mental kind of switch in teaching people how to properly eat, how to properly train, how to just look at the whole thing in a different light. And so much of what I've done now is work on people's like the mental side of what they're going to go throughout the challenge. So like I'm just in their face every day, and I feel like I'm teaching and I'm changing lives that way. And like, honestly, our last one that finished up just before Christmas, there was a guy named Tony. Tony drove to the gym for 6 a.m. class every day through that challenge and still does from Woodbridge.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, he lost like close to 30 pounds of fat. He gained 3 pounds of muscle. He was super dehydrated coming into it. He had no muscle. He's so out of shape and like changed like everything in 8 weeks. It was the craziest thing. And he just bought into everything I said. He did like, not only he would email me every day and he would just explain to me what was going on in his mind and what he thought about food and himself before and how that was switching and how he mentally, he was like, I don't look at myself as this out of shape, I can't do it anymore. I look at myself as like this athlete who's going to do it every day.
How old is Tony?
Tony's in his 40s.
Nice.
He works a desk job and figured out how to walk 15,000 steps a day, even though before when we did a check, he was walking like 3,000 steps a day. He just didn't let any excuses.
And he drove to Woodbridge because he found you, liked you, connected, and made it.
Yeah, he heard me on a radio show and talking about the challenge, and he knew that was kind of what he needed to make the change, and he just bought into it. And now he's doing this. I'm starting another challenge next week. And he's been coming to the gym ever since and still following the diet protocols. And now he's going into this next challenge because he wants to get down to 15% body fat. And just like, he's just a new person.
Sometimes what makes the difference is the accountability.
Yeah.
Like you just need the accountability, whether or not, even like Tony, for example, knows some basic stuff now that he can continue to follow. But without having the accountability, it's, you can go off the rails again. Like it just helps to have that person that you got to check in with, depending on how you're wired, that can be helpful.
For sure. And sometimes I have to just talk people through things that they don't understand, like coach, like freak out moments on a Sunday. Coach, I just checked my weight. I'm up a pound. Like I followed everything you said. I'm like, dude, it is okay.
Relax.
Like
so where do most people break? They don't consistently come to the workouts on an 8-week challenge, or they don't follow the diet?
The workout's the easy part. Most people can do the workout. The diet is like, you have to not give yourself excuses or like, oh, I feel crap today, so I'm going to do this. Or people learn to justify things in all kinds of ways. But if you can stick to the diet, and then also I tell people, like, you can't eyeball it. There is no way you're good enough at this to eyeball like how much rice you should eat by just scooping it in. You have to measure things. Like, to make the change we want to make, I need to know exactly how much you're putting into your system. And you also need to have that reference. You know what I mean? Once we get to a point of like maintenance, for sure, like nobody's going to like gain fat by having a little extra rice in there.
Well, you know what to eat and can't eat. You know how your body works. That's what I learned through this whole process.
You can come out of that being super strict, but to get, somebody to come out of, he came into the challenge at like 32% body fat. To get somebody out of what they're doing to get there, like we have to figure out all the variables. So he just bought in, and like it's stuff that worked for him was like, we have this Telegram group, and every day he's the guy who's like showing everybody like his meal prep, showing everybody how many steps he did. And it's just like, that's his way of like keeping himself accountable to everybody in that
I wonder
group.
what his reasons are for doing what he's doing.
He said I think obviously a lot of it is his family and being there longer for his kids and those kind of things. And then there's I think a side piece of that was like, I was never the athlete. I was never in shape. I was always the big guy. And I just accepted that that's who I was. And I'm just not going to accept that fact.
Oh, awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
Tony.
hearing that. That's the best part.
Way to go, Tony.
Yeah, Tony.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's great.
And to be clear, it's not just for, Tony, like it's guys, girls. It doesn't matter kind of what state you're in.
This next group, we have like a very range from like people who came in at 34% body fat, and the other coach in my gym, Greg, he did the last challenge as well. He got down to 10% body fat, and he's doing it again because like his goal that he's never seen his abs in his life. So like now he wants to have the 6-pack, and it's like, Greg, we can work with that too.
And Greg's a strong.
He's really strong.
He's a strong
dude. He
guy.
can
He's got
bench
lots
like
of strength.
400 pounds. But
his wife's doing it too.
And his wife's doing it, and so we have a really cool group where there's like 4 couples that are doing it, and then we have this range. We got Nige doing it. And
Is he doing it?
Yeah, I told him that I'm gonna make him look good for his wedding.
Wow.
It's funny 'cause
Nige Bear?
Nige Bear.
I'll go in the morning, and I see a lot of the people doing it after the morning class, because I go in halfway through the morning class, start warming up and stuff, and they and then I see the people that are doing it, and they'll stick around a little bit longer. They're doing their stuff, or they're practicing, like if someone has a goal that they want to get their double unders, or you know what I mean. So they'll be practicing some skill stuff as well as the body fat, or the weight stuff that they're focused on as well. So
it's a good program if you buy into it. And I spend a lot of time with the people during that time and just building the proper mindset for it. And this time I was better at my marketing because I've been learning from you guys. So I had people sign up way earlier, so I could spend not the last 2 weeks going into it marketing. I could spend the time with the people just preparing them properly for what's going to happen.
A lot of it really is that buy-in, right? And in terms of like the gym exercises of being like, you don't be afraid to lift heavy, don't be afraid to try this new and different stuff that people are kind of scared to do. And then also those replacement foods, right? Like he'll put on your meal plan, add a tablespoon of butter to your meal, and people be like, oh, I shouldn't do that.
Yeah,
but then they'll go and they'll be like, oh, now I'm just craving ice cream and I fell in the whole pint of ice cream, right? Yeah. So it's like, it's
balance.
Yeah. And it's really just committing to that whole process.
No, I take care of all the thinking. You don't have to think, you just have to do what I say.
But it's a mental shift.
Just do what I say. There's a reason why that everything is in that plan.
I think you have to be prepared too, because when you change your diet, if you've never done something like that, like I remember when I cut out bread, like I'm like, I'm not going to eat bread anymore. And I really kind of reduced the carb amount I was going to take. Like I was still eating some vegetables and stuff. I went through 2 weeks where I felt like I almost had like the flu. Like I really went through a withdrawal from not having the bread in it. It's like my body kind of adapted and came out of that. And then over the next few months, I think I really kind of changed. But if you're not ready for that mentally, you'll just quit, because it was awful. And that's like, it felt like my body was saying, testing me, like, you better go have a piece of bread. Like you better have a piece of bread right now.
Yeah.
We grew up, I used to eat bread with every meal, because our parents did and our dad did all the time. So it was like meat, vegetables, bread, but it was bread literally with pretty much every single meal.
Yeah.
So I went through the same battle.
It's just important, like, to have a coach who's just coaching you through it, right? Because you can have those moments, and then all these people have my number, and just like fire off the questions, and we'll explain to you why it's happening, or why over the first 2 weeks on the scale, it doesn't look like you've lost weight, but when you gain a pound of muscle, it always holds on to water. So there could be like 3 pounds of good weight that you've put on, and you've lost 3 pounds of fat, and on the scale it doesn't look like anything. So I just like try to work people through that, because they're like, oh, I can see in the mirror I look like a lot better, but the scale's not moving that much. And I'm like, well, like when we do the body scan, you're going to see that like you're adding lean mass. We're adding what we need. You're getting hydrated. And now you have that extra weight that's good for you, and you're getting rid of that fat, and you look great. So what does it matter what's actually on the scale, you know? And then by the end of the 8 weeks, everybody's always ends up losing weight. Their body composition is so much better. You know, when we can add lean muscle, it's like, you're just getting the best of both worlds.
Thanks, guys, for doing this. How do people find you? 8-week challenge. They want to join Radix. They want to talk to Rachael about mixing butter with honey, which I'm mesmerized by. Like, I can't believe I didn't do this before.
You never done that on toast?
Oh, I know. Sorry?
Have you never done that on toast?
Butter with honey?
Yeah, the greatest thing ever on toast.
No, maybe like I kind of have, but like I feel like Rachel's like mixing it in a bowl.
Yeah, no, she's not doing it on toast, but I do enjoy it on toast.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What kind of bread do you eat?
Sourdough only.
Where do you get it?
Whole Foods has a good sourdough.
Do they?
Like really good sourdough.
Why sourdough only?
Because it's fermented already, so it's easier for your gut to be able to digest.
Okay, but you can't do that because of the gluten thing.
Yeah.
It's still
Ideally, there are ways to be able to heal your gut to be able to. With celiac disease, I don't think so, but if there's just digestive distress, a lot of people really benefit from cutting it out and then being able to add it back in properly, but you have to heal your gut first. That's a
I
whole
wish you
nother
could try our
podcast.
grandmother's bread. Oh my God.
boy.
On the windowsill, she used to keep something. Would it be the yeast?
That would be the sourdough starter.
Sourdough starter? What was that? So what is that? Just a little piece that she had to keep around for a little bit?
Yeah, it's alive. It's literally alive. Yeah, and then you feed it every day, and then when it gets big enough,
Yeah, I remember she used to keep it on the windowsill.
you always have to keep a little bit of each batch to start the next batch.
Oh, got it. Man, so much I wish I could talk to her about. So yeah, where do people find you?
So our email is hello@radixgym.com. You can go on our website, radixgym.com, or check us out on Instagram @radixgym. It's pretty easy.
Okay.
Radix Rach.
And sorry, yours?
Radix Rach.
Radix
on Instagram.
Rach.
Yeah.
If you want to see the mom stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the 8-week challenge is constantly going throughout the year, or is it just like twice a year? How's that work?
No, 4 times a year.
4 times a year.
It kind of always leads into something like the next one. Well, this one is like starting your year off right. The next one will lead into the summer. So, make sure you're looking good in the summer. We have the following one to come out of the summer. So those people who are like, spend the summer at the cottage drinking beer and stuff like that. So they just kind of roll on as the.
And then what programs do you have at Radix right now? I always feel like there's so much going on. CrossFit programs?
CrossFit.
That's a big one.
Yeah. And then we have the sports strength and conditioning program there. And we're actually opening a semi-private training for people who are looking for something a little bit more one-on-one without the full prices of PTs. So that's one of the new programs.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
All available on your website.
On the website, yeah.
Awesome, guys.
No,
thank you for this. Thank you
Thank
for everything.
you.
I mean, you both have had a huge impact on our lives. So really, thank you, Rachael. I always say this to you. Thank you so much, Dan. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate everything you both do.
I don't say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep showing up so we know it.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Good. No worries.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. You can find every new episode of the Your Life, Your Term show on all the major streaming platforms. So Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. And if you'd like to get free copies of some of the books that we've put together, like these right here, or some of the reports that we've put together, like these right here, you can find all of those at www.rockstarinnercircle.com. That's www.rockstarinnercircle.com. That's it for now. Until next time, your life, your terms.